Hello everyone. So the topic of this video is how to get into tech, especially when you have no experience. Lots of people are trying to get into the tech industry, maybe because of better pay or work from home flexibility. And I'm feeling there is not enough awareness about different roles available in the tech. So the goal of this video is to give you some more information so you can choose from different options, and there are few positions or there are few roles which are less competitive than others. So let's get started. Most people think you need to become a developer or have to do coding as part of your job, and they think coding is the only way to break into tech. And this is not true. Before talking about that, we need to understand different processes that involves creating an application from beginning to end. So first of all, let's talk about the software development processes. So we can divide the software development process in four ways: design, development, testing, and deployment. We need people in all these areas. I see so many people who can contribute to other areas as well, but they put all their focus into coding or into development. Development side is immensely competitive. So instead of focusing on that, we can find some other areas where you can get your career started. Design and testing are comparatively easier than development. I have little experience in design, so I wouldn't be the best person to give you any advice there, but we can talk about the development and testing. So let's see different roles and what tools and techniques you may need to get those jobs. So the first role is tech analyst or technical support. This role goes by different names, but overall, the job description or the job responsibilities are kind of same. The role of tech analyst is probably easier to get, and most of the time doesn't require any engineering degree. But it will help if you have any undergraduate degree, if you have a bachelor degrees in maths or sciences. Especially large corporations, they need more analysts because they have bigger applications and they need to do end-to-end testing, or they need to have some support people who can act when there is any issue. Generally, interviews are pretty smooth for these kind of positions because you will not be doing any coding. So you will not be having those technical interviews. So most of the time you'll having some behavior interviews or maybe little technical interviews, but they are way easier than software development or software engineering positions. So what will be you doing in these roles? So in this role, your main task is to help the application running. So what happened in these roles? Let's say you have a big application. So you will be connected to a ticketing system. And then in that ticketing system, they'll put the defects or they'll put some issues, and your job will be to troubleshoot these issues. So most of the time, maybe you will be on call. Maybe you will be called with the user who will be explaining you what the issue is, or maybe you will need to talk to the other teams in order to resolve that issue. But you will be like that middleman who will be responsible of making sure the issue gets fixed. So you will not be working directly, or you may not be working directly on fixing that issue, but your job is to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Now, how to get these jobs? So the good thing about these jobs is you don't need to do any boot camp. It is good to have some knowledge of HTML, CSS, but I don't think you would require to do any coding in those roles. So if you don't like coding, you can start your career with tech analyst, and then if you like it, you can start learning coding on side and apply for different jobs. So what will happen that you will have enough experience that you will be able to understand the whole application, and maybe on the side you're learning code, and after that you can talk to your manager or you can talk to your team lead, and you can ask them if there is any dev position available where you can apply. So this is probably the best way if you want to do coding but you're not getting enough interviews. What you can do, you can start with these jobs. You can start with maybe a tech support job or tech analyst job, get those jobs, have some experience in your resume, and then apply for dev roles in other companies or apply for dev roles in your own company. I see so many people doing this exact thing, and now they are senior engineers or they are managers, but they started at lower position and they gained enough experience of the application, and everybody trusts them because they know the application. The only thing required from you is to actually learn the software development process. So maybe 9 to 5 you're working a job, and 7 to 10 or 7 to 9 you can do your learning, and you can join a boot camp. Whatever you want to do, you should do it and then apply for dev roles. That's probably the way I would recommend to someone who has no experience. Okay, so the next role we have is quality assurance. So quality assurance sometimes go with the title SDET, Software Development Engineer in Testing. So the previous role was tech support. In quality assurance, your job will be to make sure that whatever software or whatever product your company or your team is making is working as expected, or there are no bugs in the application. So you'll be doing that. You can divide the QA position in two roles, manual QA and automation QA. So first, let's talk about manual QA role. In a manual QA, I think this is probably the second easiest role after tech support, because in manual QA, what you will be doing is you will have your specifications, or you have a list of specifications, and then you have your application. So let's say a developer creating some feature. When they create that feature, they will send it to your way. So your job is to match the specification with the product. So whatever they build, you need to make sure it works as expected. So let's say the developer created a landing page, and the landing page, there should be an email form which includes name, first name, last name, and an email. So your job basically is to make sure, first of all, the layout is fine. And maybe you'll check the responsiveness of the website or the responsiveness of the page. And then you'll put some dummy name and email and make sure that it triggers whatever event it wants to trigger. And if anything fails, you will send that ticket, or you'll send that user story back to the developer, and he or she will fix it and then again send it to your way. And then your job is to make sure everything works fine, and then you will put your thumbs up on that ticket, and the developer probably merge their code with the main branch. So that's basically a role of QA is, but that was more of a manual QA role. Nowadays, there's a lot of demand for automation QA, and there are lots of new tools you can use to do your job as an automation engineer or automation QA. So let's talk about the tooling. So the most common framework automation engineers use is Cypress. So Cypress is a tool which helps running the automation test. Either it's end-to-end testing or API testing. You will be using Cypress as your main tool to make sure the whole application works as expected. There are other famous tools like Robot Framework and Selenium, but I wouldn't recommend learning Robot Framework or Selenium nowadays, because I think most companies, they're using Cypress. So if you're looking to join as a QA, or if you're looking to start your career as an automation QA, I would highly recommend starting with Cypress. And maybe in the future, I'll create a video regarding Cypress, and we'll see how to use it, how to install it, and how to do fun stuff with Cypress. And for manual QA, I think there is a certification you can do. It's called ISTQB certification. And with that certification, you can add in your resume, and then whenever you go into an interview, you can say, I have the certification. You know what the QA roles are, you know what the expectation is. And I think with that certification, you will have enough to talk about in an interview, because as compared to a technical analyst interview, in QA interview, there will be technical question. There might be no coding, but I would highly recommend to at least do your HTML, CSS, and some basics of JavaScript, because if you're working with Cypress, then you'll be using JavaScript. But the way they design Cypress is you don't require like high level knowledge of JavaScript. So with just basics JavaScript, you can use Cypress. That's the beauty of Cypress. And now the next fun role, which is actually a dev role. I have actually created a whole video on this topic, which you can find somewhere here. And you should go through the whole video if you want to become a software developer or a web developer especially. And where I talked about what technologies you should use, how you should prepare it, how long it should take you. So it was pretty long video. So if you want to become a web developer, make sure you watch that video. But I'll tell you basically what you'll be doing as a web developer. So as a web developer, you'll be either doing front end or you'll be doing back end. I'm a front end developer, so I mostly work with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Next.js. But there are other tools as well. Maybe you will be working with Vue, maybe you're working with Svelte, or maybe you're working with Angular. So tools matter, but before that, you need to make sure you have your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript done. And for any front-end role, there will be a technical interview. For most part, there will be a technical interview, and they are going to ask you question regarding HTML. They may ask you about CSS, but they're definitely going to ask you JavaScript, or if you have knowledge of any framework, there will be question around that. So make sure you prepare yourself if you are trying to apply for that role. But if you have no experience, I would go with either a tech support role or I would go with the QA role and get those roles first, have some experience in my resume, and then apply for a dev role. Because nowadays market is very competitive and lots of people coming in for one position. I think they're usually an average 50 or 100 resumes. Imagine if you have no experience, the probability that you'll be getting an interview is pretty low. So if you didn't have much traction, let's say in last 6 months, and you didn't get enough interviews, then I'll probably ask you to change your course and maybe instead of directly become a web developer or a software engineer or whatever you want to become, maybe pick a relatively easier path. And yes, there will be some gap in income. Maybe as a software developer, you'll be getting more salary than a tech support role. But in long run, it will help you because getting a role as a web developer is getting harder because lots of people are joining boot camps. Lots of people are doing self-study. Lots of people are even doing computer science. So my recommendation is actually going either with a tech support role or a QA role. Do it for a few years and then go in the development. And that was about it from this video. If you have any questions, please put in the comment section. And yeah, good luck. And if you want me to add anything extra, then that add as well in the comments so that I'll create a video on that topic. Okay, thanks for your time and I'll see you next time. Bye.